Boker Tov, today's daf is daf Pei Vav Subis. We're at the 10th line down on the page. Amar Meimer, Man Dedon Dina de Gami. It's a famous machlokas in Baba Kama. Are you responsible for indirect damages? So the one who says you are high for indirect damages, Magi Beidam Shtar Malya. The issue we were talking about yesterday was where the Malva lent the Lova money, and then the Malva sold that document, he sold that IOU to a third party, to a Lokeach, and then the Malva forgave the loan. So we said that's valid. That's valid. Not only that, but the heir could also do it.
How can you forgive a loan when he doesn't cover it?
Yeah, well, that's right. It's because it's still written in his name. It says Reuben lent the money to Shimon. So that's the machlokus over here. The one that says he caused them indirect damages, you're chayav for it, done dinner, even though it's indirect. So because the loan written out that he owes the money to Reuben, and Reuben sold it to another guy, to a lokeach. So, but it's still written in Reuben's name. So since it's written in Reuben's name, Reuben can forgive the loan. But if he does that, since he caused indirect damage to the lokeach, he has to pay him. You're mochel the loan, fine, but you have to pay. You sold the lokeach the rights to collect $100, and now you're mochel the money. You owe the lokeach the $100. That's the one who says you're chayav damages. Yesterday we just said it's mochel, and even the heir can be mochel it. But the one who says you're chayav for indirect damages says you'd have to pay for it. Sure, you can be mochel it. So the loba doesn't have to pay. The loba doesn't have to pay. The guy who borrowed the money doesn't have to pay. But the one who was mochelim, the malva, who is technically owed the money by the loba until he forgives it, now has to pay the lokeach. The don has to pay what it's really worth, the face value of the loan. Man the lo don, but the one who says no, you're not high for indirect damages. I didn't physically do anything to you. Just indirectly, I was mochel the loan. All he can collect is the value of the piece of paper. What did he sell the guy? The Malva sold the Lokeach this IOU. Okay, the IOU, you can keep the paper. That's about what it's worth, right? There was a Maisa. The Kafir Rav from Rav Ashi, according to Rashi, different ways learns. Rashi learns that there was a din in front of Rav Ashi. Rashi was the judge. And Rafram brought all kinds of proofs, and he proved proofs, and then they did collect it. The Agbibe, and he collected with the key Kishur Latzalmi, like a beam for making drawings on or making moldings, things like that, meaning a very smooth, expensive beam. Meaning he collected, if the Malva was mochel, the whole loan $100, and now there was a fight, what does the Malva owe the lokeach, the purchaser? Does he just own the price of the paper? As we said, if you don't done then the guy, he says no. He brought proofs and says he has to pay for the whole thing. He owes him the $100 and in good value, meaning if he pays him in not in cash, he's got to pay like the best property you can get, which is like good timber that's smooth and that's fit for making moldings or drawings on. Point is that he owes that you are chayiv. Since it's in you, how could you can be mochel the loan because loan says that Shimon is chayav Reuben $100. Okay, so Reuben says to Shimon, I'm mochel you the loan. You could do that, even though he sold it to somebody else. Technically, by today's laws, maybe you'd say in common law, maybe say, yeah, he has no right to do it. But if he did it, it's done. So what does he owe him now? What does the Malva owe the Lokeach? Does he owe him the full value of his loss because it was an indirect damage? Or do you say no, since it was indirect, he owes him nothing but the paper that it's written on? Amar Meimer Mishmei Rav Chama. A man has two obligations to pay. His wife, let's say he divorced his wife, he has paid the ksuba, and he has an outstanding creditor. Obviously, he has two things in his possession. He has a piece of land and he has cash. So you settle the loan of the Balchov with money, because that's what did the Balchov do? The Balchov lent him money. Now it's guaranteed with karka that he has, since it's written in Ishtar. He has collateral in there. It's guaranteed he has a lien on the property, but he lent him money, he expects to get back money. So the Chov must give him Ara. As if he doesn't have enough cash for both, he gives the Balchov the cash, and the woman, his wife, he pays off with land because she never really gave him cash to begin with. She was just relying on getting paid for the ksuba. So that's guaranteed by the land. Haikidina v'haikidina. Each one went to what he's expected. Rashi says, that this one lent Zehil this guy lent him money and expects to get back money. And this one, the wife, was relying not on the cash, because when you get married, you don't think the cash that you have at the time of marriage is going to be around when the times to get divorced, when the marriage is over, she was relied on the karka that he would have. So you do it that way. If he has cash and he doesn't have enough cash to pay them both, give the balchov the cash and give the woman the karka. V'lo ika elachad ara. Let's say though he got married on the same day that he got married, he had a shtar chov, same day, and he only has one piece of land. V'lo ika elachad ara. V'lo chazi elachad. It's only good enough for one. The balchov, you give it to the balchov. Why? In other words, one of them is going to get stiffed over here. The balchov or the wife. Which one do you stiff? You stiff the wife. Why? My time even though if you stiff the wife, there's going to be a feeling among women, why should we get married? I'm not going to rely on the ksuba anyway. But generally, that's that idea of china that we mentioned the other day, it's mentioned throughout Shas, falls aside against the idea that a woman still would want to get married. More than a man wants to get married, a woman doesn't want to be alone, especially in those days. So therefore, why don't you just stiff the balchov? If you stiff the balchov, if there's a rule that you stiff the balchov, people won't lend money. That's called you'll lock the door in front of, you'll lock the loan department in front of poor people who need to borrow money. If the malva knows that, if the guy's got an obligation to pay ksuba and pay a balchov, he's going to pay the ksuba, and I'm not going to get paid. I'm not lending anybody money. So therefore, better pay back the balchov and not the woman. Only a popular Rav Chama. Papa said to Rav Chama, is it true? Vadai, the Amrisa Mishmei Rav. Is it true this that you said in the name of Haiman Damaski Bezuzik? A man is owed cash. He's owed money. This layaron, he's got some land. Bas balchov, and the balchov comes, but katav minei, and the balchov says, okay, either give me the cash or give me the property. But Amrlane, he said, Zil shkol me'ara, and he says, okay, go take the loan from the land. I don't have any cash. Go take it from my land. Amrinale, we tell this lova, the debtor, Amrinale zil zavanat. No, you go sell it by IC Havle. We tell the debtor, you can't tell the creditor, go take the land and sell, but you sell it and give him the cash. Is it true that you said that? Amalei lo, I didn't say that. The creditor knows that his loan is backed up by the karka. If there's no cash, you should take the karka. You seem to say that we told the lova that, lova, you have to sell the land and pay him in cash. He says, no, I never said that. So Emily what was the story? I understood that he had to convert the land into cash. Amalei, here's what happened. The man had cash, the lova had cash, but he said the cash that he has belongs to Clyde over here, or Dylan, whatever. It belonged to the guy. And therefore he said, I can't take it, the guy will kill me, right? It belongs to the guy. So he said that Mos Hayalo, the fraud, belonged to the guy. So that wasn't nice. He lied about it. So, yeah, I'm holding some money. Dylan gave me some money to hold for him, right? Whatever, you understand? So it's the guy's money. I can't give you that money. It's not my money. He was lying. He was lying. The lova lied. In other words, when was the story? Normally, if the balchov comes to collect and there's no cash, he takes the karka and he deals with it. So he said to him, Rav Papa said to Rav Chama, is it true that you said that in a case like that, the balchov can force the lova, the court will force the lova to sell his own land to pay off the guy in cash? He says, no, I never said that. What happened was the story was here that the guy lied, the lova lied, he had cash, but he said it belongs to a guy who was a shalogog and he acted improperly, and therefore we told him also, you have to sell your land. You don't have any cash. We know that he was lying, so you don't want to give that cash. So therefore, we told him you have to sell your land. But normally, the balchov could just take the land, and that's good enough. Only have kind of Rav Papa. The didochtam at priyas balchov mitzvah. You hold that paying back a loan is a mitzvah. It's not simply you owe the money, but you borrowed the money legitimately. You didn't steal it. Now you can't pay. That happens sometimes, among the Jews, right? They borrow money and they say they'll pay it back, and they don't have the money to pay it back, but it's a mitzvah to pay it back. And because it's a mitzvah to pay it back, we don't force young orphans, to pay back their deceased father's loans because they're not chayv mitzvahs. It's a mitzvah to pay it back. Not chayv mitzvahs. So he says, according to you, that just it's a mitzvah. Let's say he says, nichali, lo nichali dav mitzvah. I don't want to do a mitzvah. So I don't want to do the mitzvah. I'm not going to pay it back. It's a mitzvah, right? What's the obligation to pay back? That it's a mitzvah, no other mitzvah. So I didn't do every other mitzvah. I don't want to do that mitzvah. What would you say there? Amalei, Tanini, we learn. When a person is over on a lav, on a losa say, medvarm, what do? You give malchus. If he's over to lo saseh, you give him malchus, you give him lashes. Aval mitzvah saseh, but a mitzvah aseh that you have to do, kagom, shomlo aseh sukkah, veinosa, lulav veinosa. Mitzvahs of the day, right? Next week we have to get our sukkah ready, get a lulav. I don't want to do it. What do? You beat him. You beat him until he's dead because he still has the opportunity. Mitzvahs. If sukkahs hasn't happened yet, we're going into sukkahs, and he has the opportunity to do these mitzvahs of sukkah and lulav, and he doesn't want to do it. You beat him. There's no limit. Not just 40 malchus. Before he was over on the asay, you beat him. So don't tell me it's a mitzvah. You have to do the mitzvah. Rashi says here, interesting, he quotes more about mitzvah. Look at Rashi on Amud Aleph, 4 lines from the bottom of Rashi. Mitzvah love lefrachov ula amisvarav, and to confirm that his words and to make his words truthful. Because when he borrowed money, what did he say? I'm going to pay it back, right? Well, your word is your word. The Sivit says hin sedek. What does hin sedek mean? You should have an honest measure, right? Hin is a measure. You should have honest measures. Don't cheat, with weights and scales and things like that. Don't cheat. Says the Chsiv hin sedek, and we darshan sheilacha shehei hein shalcha sedek, v'lav shalcha sedek. Hin is really a measure. It's a kind of a measure. But a darshan hin, your hein, when you say yes, that should be truthful. That should be righteous. V'lav shalcha sedek. When you say yes and no, it should mean something. Meaning, in other words, a word should be a word. It should be truthful. Not like it used to be. Not like it used to be. Today, everybody's word is valid. We accept everybody's word. Sarah made tshuva. Everybody did tshuva already, and now everybody's word is going to be a valid word. All right, we're at the top line on Amud Beis now. The following question. A man gives his wife a get, because we mentioned this idea before about delayed, the things that are delayed. Let's say he says, here's your get, but I only want it to be valid 30 days from now. We're still married. Here's your get, and it should be chal 30 days later. Why would he do that? Whatever the circumstances were. And she left the get there for the whole time, stayed there for 30 days, and she put it on the side of the Rosh Hashanah. What does it mean, Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah is a public domain. However, when people want to make deals and confirm things, so they go on the side there, like a simta, we meant like a simta like that, and she left it over there. Is that like a private domain? And therefore, 30 days later, it's like she can make a kinyan there. It's like it's still there. It's like in her rishus. If you tell a wife, here's your get, and he throws it into her own property, something that he didn't own the property, that's valid. So here too, she left it there. No, she's not divorced. Why? Because that's like a public domain. Go to Rav Shmuel. We had the other day, Rav Shmuel said, remember the machlok of Tarfon or Bekiva, if a man died and left movable, let's say produce, fruits, right? Fruits and vegetables, whatever. And who gets them? Who gets them? So we said if a man died and he left Peres Tlushim, whoever wants to get him, he had Yorshim, he had a Balchov, he had a Ksuba to pay, whoever wants to get them gets them. That's what Tarfon's Shita, right? First says whoever wants to get him, get him. If the wife took him more than a ksuba, who do you give it back to? You give it to the kosher shaban, whatever. But everybody can get them. But Kiva said no, Zamrachim. Then it goes to the Orshim, and that's it. But when Rav Tarfon said, whoever wants to grab it, where is it? Where are those fruits? So Rav Shmuel said on the top of Pei Dalar Mebeis that they're in the Rosh Hashanah, so they're not in anybody's domain. But if it's in a simta like that state of Rosh Hashanah, no. And the Yochanan says even a simta also, you can anybody who wants it can claim them. So because it's like Rosh Hashanah. See here he says also if you left him at Seder Rosh Hashanah, it's not in her rishus. The get's only chal 30 days from now. 30 days later, it's not in her rishus. It's like in Rosh Hashanah. So he says Eina Megureshes. He answered him. He said no, she's not divorced. When can anybody claim those fruits? Anybody, the Yorshim or the Balchov or the Isha, the former wife, when they're in Rosh Hashanah, so they don't belong to anybody. But Seder Rosh Hashanah, because Rosh Hashanah, they'll be the side of Rosh Hashanah presumably is like Rosh Hashanah. So therefore, if you give her a get, and you say it's only chal 30 days, not 30 days from now, it's chal l'mafreya to now. It's chal l'mafreya to now because it's chal l'mafreya to now. Well, now she got it. It was in her hand. No, we don't mean that. We're saying that it's that 30 days from now it should be chal, and in 30 days It was inside of Shus Rabim. It says inside of Shus Rabim is like Shus Rabim, and therefore she's not divorced. The Gemara says, Rabba, she should be divorced. Out of Mugreshus mid Rav Nachman, Rav Nachman, Rav before. We said if you pull the, make a mashiach on the para, and you only acquired it after 30 days, you're required. Even if at that point it's in a meadow, it's in a swamp, it's in a semi-private area, it's good enough. Even if it's not really in his rishus, you still acquired. My love, Hainu Agam Shus Rabim, isn't that the same? Agam Tzidur Shus Rabim, it's all like a semi-private area, and therefore it's like it's in his rishus. And the same thing with the woman; it should be like in her rishus if it's in Tzidur Shus Rabim. It's low. Agam L'chuvit Shus Rabim. You can argue that the side of Shus Rabim is like in Shus Rabim, and Agam is like a private domain. That's one way to learn. Economics, some say the other way, and that seems to be the halacha. Amalei Megureshes, she is divorced. If he says, I'm giving you a get, it should be chal 30 days, and 30 days from then, it was she left it in the Tzidur Rishus Rabim, she is divorced. From Rav Nachman's rule that we just said, Rav Nachman just said that the case where you pull a para and you're showing the quiet after 30 days, and you acquired it if ilu metas bagam, that's like a private area. He acquires it. The Tzidur Rishus Rabim kagam dami. The side of Rishus Rabim is like an agam. It's not Rishus Rabim. It's semi-private, and therefore she acquires her get just like the man acquires the para. Maybe she's not divorced because Rav Shmuel said that anybody can claim Peiros and Rishus Rabim, and the Tzidur Rishus Rabim is like Rishus Rabim. My love, Hainu Rishus Rabim, Hainu Tzidur Rishus Rabim. Isn't that the same thing? The side of Rishus Rabim is like Rishus Rabim, meaning nobody has any powers there to acquire it. You can't use the area itself as an acquisition point unless you lifted it up, unless you made some other case. He says, look, Rishus Rabim l'chud, Tzidur Rabim. Rav Shmuel's halacha is about the Rishus Rabim. But the side of the Rishus Rabim is like an agam, is like a semi-private area, and therefore you do acquire it. We had this discussion about the para. We're back on Pei Beis. Right, so we said, so the Gemara over there said that when you acquired from now, right? Right? And it said, this is then for sure it works because you're kind of me'achshav. The Gemara at this point is explaining it like Kona even there because it's a semi-private area. Now let's understand something. Minat Torah, we said, when do you make a shvua? When are you forced to make a shvua? You come to court. Could you swear? You go into a regular court today, you go in, you put your hand up and you swear. But Minat Torah, you can't be forced to swear unless certain circumstances arise. For example, your motive mixus, right? The guy says, you owe me $100. I say, no, I only owe you 75. So you miss the 75 and the other 25, he has to swear. That's motive mixus. Or if there's one aid against him, remember you need two aidim. If two aidim come and say, I owe the $100, there's no shvua. I got to pay. Two aidim is as strong as anything. Let's say there's one aid. So then I can be forced to make a shvua. Those are shvuas d'oraisa. However, the rabbis came along and said there's many shvuas rabbanim. For example, let's say I deny the whole thing. You say I owe you $100, and I'm not motive mixed. I say, no, I don't owe you anything. I never borrowed any money from you. You're making up the story. So Minotaur don't have to swear. Rabbanan, you have to wear what's called shvuah says I have to do have to swear. There's other cases where the rabbi said you have to make a shvuah. For example, partners. Well, how did the whole line go? The guy's in New York and he says to his partner, Yankel, I think I forgot this to lock the safe. I'm sorry. They're both in Florida. And where did the Jews go? They go to Florida, right? And he says, back in Manhattan, I think I forgot to lock the safe before we came down to Florida. He says, what are you worried about? I'm here with you. Meaning, like, he was suspected, the partner. Who are you going to suspect? The partner of stealing something. So the rabbi said that partners could be made, could force one another to swear that they haven't stolen anything. Or somebody, your manager, you have a manager, you have a worker for you. And, he feels he's not paid enough. So he takes a little bit on the side, puts a little bit extra into his pocket. Those people who work for you, or sometimes as we'll see even your wife, workers, a petrups and a guardian, a partner can be made to swear, even though there's no such shvur like that, Minat Torah. But the rabbi said, in order, because people like that are moraheta, they said, okay, I'm entitled, right? I'm entitled, right? Not like Harry Truman who returned the pencil, and paid for his own gas when he left the White House and drove back to Independence, Missouri. paid for the gas out of his own pocket, not like today when they're given everything, right? And they take everything and they wind up millionaires, right? He lived on his army pension. He didn't even have a pension from the government. They didn't give him like today, where you paid for life, all kinds of stuff. He lived on his army pension. We don't have people like that. Him, Abdullah, Begin, people who didn't wind up rich when they left, right? But people are more heter. So let's say a man set up his wife. Moshe and says, okay, you run the store. Told her to run the store. She's the shopkeeper. Or appointed to be a guardian or a manager over the administrator over his business. Hareza Mashpia calls man Shiur. So he can make her swear whenever he wants and just swear that she didn't take anything. We'll see if it's a swear. It's technically there's a shvua and a netter. The netter would be, all oranges should be usher to me forever if I've taken anything. Make the netter or based a shvua. It's preferable to make a netter. But let's say the basic idea is that he can force her to swear, even though there's no such shvua min Torah. Even on her spindle and on her dough, meaning even stuff in the house. She's sewing. Did you take some extra wool there and maybe give it to your sister or my sister-in-law? Did you even something like that? Now that's a difficult thing to live with. You're going to make your wife. Did you take an extra roll from the freezer? Did you eat something extra? If you live that way, that's not good for a marriage, right? That doesn't help relations. Rav Lezer says he gave him a swear there. So the question over here is boilu. Rav Lezer idei gilgul. Remember, there's another kind of a shvua in the Torah, a gilgul shvua. Once he had, let's say, if the swear, it makes her swear like the case of the sota, right? We learned over there the idea of gilgul shvua. Once, technically, you don't have to swear on everything, only like we said, marib mitzvahs, or when there's 1-8 against you. But once you're made to swear, you can make other shvuas. We can roll over other shvuas on there too. So when Rav Lezer says he can even make her swear on the spindle, on a dough, the household stuff that she would normally deal with in the kitchen. Does he mean Aidei Gilgul Kamar? No, just meaning once she has to swear that she hasn't stolen anything from the shop, where she is the shopkeeper or the guardian or the administrator, so you can make a swear on the spindle also. Or no, even the chedchila. Hey, did you take anything? Did you take any extra dough? Did you steal an extra roll or an extra challah? Even there's, what do you mean? So what did Rav Lezer say? Tashma, they told Rav Lezer, how can you make her swear on a spindle, on a thing? Nobody can live with a snake in a basket. In other words, that's impossible to live with. She's going to make her swear in every little thing that she didn't take anything. Yeah, if it means Rav Lezer said, you could ever make her swear. Even if she's not a guardian or a shopkeeper, you could always make her swear that she didn't take anything. So that makes sense that they said, how can you live with a person like that? So grounds for divorce. What does she care? If she's swearing anyway that she was the shopkeeper or the administrator and she didn't take anything there, so she makes a shvur in the spindle also. What's the big deal? So the Amr say, no, it still is a big deal. The Amr says, you can tell him, keep the kedaika basura kuliyai. You're so particular with me. You're even asking me if I took any extra dough or I took a little extra wool. I can't live with you. If Rashi says, shows that you don't love me. That's what Rashi says. It shows that you don't love me. I can't live with that, right? It's like, you don't love and you don't trust me. I can't live with you in a case like that. So it's possible that even Ayeh Gilgul Shvua, that maybe Rav Lezer only meant Ayeh Gilgul Shvua, but not L'chadchila. So we're still looking for a proof. Tashma, Harei Shelo Pater Sishim and Shvua. In the next Mishnah, we're going to say that there are cases where even if he points her to be the administrator or the shopkeeper, she might say, wait a minute, you're going to make me swear every day that I didn't steal anything? So he tells her up front, he writes to her, no, you never have to, I'm not going to make you swear. I'm never going to make you swear. Let's say he didn't pot to her. You could pot to her. He could absolve her of swearing, but he didn't. He didn't pot to her. But he set her up as a shopkeeper. He made her a guardian or administrator over his businesses. He can make her swear whenever he wants. But let's say he didn't do that. If he didn't set her up as a shopkeeper or a guardian, you can't make her swear whenever he wants. You can just tell your wife, hey, swear to me that you haven't taken anything. No, it's only if he set her up as running his business. Even though he didn't set her up, meaning there's no Gilgul Shvua now because he didn't set her up as an apotropos or anything like that. He can make a swear. Every woman is to some degree a guardian over his assets. When he's not home, she's guarding it. Or she's an apotropos effectively on her spindle, on her dough, meaning on her household stuff. They said, no, you can't live with a person that way. But Shema Milach Shema Mina, you see, because when he said the favor, Blazer said, even though he didn't make her a shopkeeper or a guardian, meaning in which case everybody agrees if made her shopkeeper, he can make her swear that she hasn't taken anything from the shop or his assets or his banking or whatever. Still, you can make her swear because she's effectively up to on the Pilchus. So you see, made her swear even in a case like that. Rabbi Lezer says we don't pass from Rabbi Lezer, but when the Chachamim say that Chachamim say you can make her swear if she's an apotropos. If you make her swear as an apotropos, you can also make her swear maybe al yidei gilgush shvua, even though gilgush shvua over here is not a doraisa because the whole shvua is rabbanan. The whole shvua I can make her swear is only rabbanan. But the rabbis also said once he swears on the businesses, she hasn't taken anything from the shop or from her the banking, whatever he put her in charge of, the administration. He can also make her swear al yidei gilgush on the pilchon nisasa. But the Rabbi Lezer says you can even do that on the Pilchal Nisasa. You can make her swear in that even if she wasn't set up as a shopkeeper at all. Rabbi Lezer says you could. The Rabbanan say no, you cannot. We go like the Rabbanan. Because let's say he writes to her when he set her up as a businessman, as his businesswoman, as her administrator. He said to her, no, I'm never going to make you swear. Run the business. I guarantee I'm not going to make you swear. You can't make her swear. So let's say they get divorced. If they get divorced, he has to give her ksuba, right? He has to make ksuba. Let's say then she dies. Who claims the ksuba? Her yorshim. Let's say she has children, right? Or her father, whoever. So he could make her. So when a woman comes like the ksuba, she normally has to swear that she hasn't been paid yet, that he didn't set any money aside. Now that they're divorced, he can make her see. He can make her yorshim swear because he said, "I'm not going to make you swear." But your yorshim who are coming to collect your ksuba, let's say we got divorced, or let's say she sold her ksuba. Remember we said the other day, let's say she sold her ksuba. Ksuba is worth $200, right? But it's possible it won't be collectible if she dies before the husband. So she sold it, let's say, for $75 to somebody. Now they got divorced, and the other guy's coming with the claim, I want the $200, right? Let's say she died or whatever, or he sold it to her. She sold it to somebody, right? She might be alive. She got divorced, right? When she was married, she sold it for $75. This to Yankel. Now she got divorced, so she's entitled to the ksuba. But Yankel owns the ksuba. So Yankel's coming to collect the money. Can he make Yankel swear? Yes. Because he said, I write into you that I won't make you, my wife, swear. But her yorshim, her heirs who are coming to collect the ksuba, or her successors in this case, Abam B'shus, the guy that she sold the ksuba to, can make her swear. He can make them swear. Let's say he says netter shvua, either a netter, like we said, all the payers are also to me unless I took something, or she swears she hasn't gotten anything. Netter shvua, eni alecha b'yoshecha. Not only I'm not going to make you swear, but even your heirs will not have to swear, or your successors, nobody will have to swear. Then if he writes that, he has to fulfill that. Even though normally her heir or her successor might be made to swear to collect the ksuba, but he's wrote her, they won't have to swear. Avol Yorshav, let's say though he dies, and now they're coming with a claim, or the wife is coming with a claim on the Yorshim, on his Yorshim, that she's entitled to her ksuba. Avol Yorshav must be an osa, because he said, I won't come with a claim. You know, when from me, you don't have to make a shvua, nor your heirs, nor your successors. But let's say he said, but the Yorshim, his Yorshim, could make her swear. Avol Yorshav, Mashbiyan also his Yorshim, if he's dead and they're coming to collect from his heirs, they could make her swear, or her heirs, or her successors. Let's say he writes the whole thing. Neru shvua, you'll never have to make. Ainli, I can't make a swear, Lord. But Yorshai, not my heirs. Anybody who I've sold my assets to, anybody I've sold my claims to. Alecha, I will no claim, no netter shvua, we will not make you swear by your shech, or nor your heirs, nor your successors. You can't make her swear lo who, v'lo yorshav, nor his yorshim, v'lo bam b'shuso. Nobody can be made to swear. Why? Because he said, I won't make you swear, I won't make your heirs swear, I won't make your successors swear. Not only that, my heirs and my successors cannot force you to swear either, because normally, as we said, when you collect the ksuba, you could be made to swear. If she normally, let's say, collects the ksuba, she can be made to swear that she hasn't been paid yet, especially from the yorshim, right? But then we talk about when it comes to the yorshim, she has to be made to swear that she doesn't have any claim. Otherwise, she has a claim.
How could he say something that he's talking about her yorshim? How can he say he applied his word to her yorshim?
Because he put that in the contract.
but he has no way of, there's no right to do that.
Well, he has a right to do it because he said, I will allow you to collect the ksuba without having to make a shvua. Not only that, if you die, I will not, I'm committing myself. I make a commitment that if your children have to collect the ksuba, for example, if we get divorced, then he has an obligation. If she dies before they're divorced, then there's no ksuba to pay. But let's say they got divorced and then she died. So her yorshim, her heirs are coming to collect the ksuba, whoever her heirs are, children or father, whatever, coming to collect the ksuba. They could say, swear that you haven't been paid. Maybe some money was set aside. I don't know, maybe there was something that she took. No, yet you made to swear. He committed to that. Committed to whoever. Pardon?
On the other side, how can he commit
his children? Yeah, because he could say that because it's all his money. It's his money up front. So he says his money. His kids have an obligation to pay the ksuba. The ksuba, right? If a man dies, so she's entitled to the ksuba. Who's she collecting it from? His heirs.
Yeah.
His heirs get the money the second that he dies. It automatically goes into their hands. But they have an obligation to pay the ksuba. They have the ksuba is the first lien before the yorshim. So when they collect the ksuba, when you collect from yorshim may not know. Maybe he left her already a check. He left her a cashier's check, in the safe, or he'd given it to her for. So normally, she has to swear that she hasn't been paid and nothing been paid. For example, we're going to see in tomorrow's Gemara. Let's say she admits part of the ksuba has been paid. Ksuba is $200, and he gave her an advance of $50. So, and she admits it. She says, "I only have to collect 150. I already got 50." She has to swear now because once she's impaired the ksuba, she's made it. It's not a real good document anymore. Document doesn't stand on its own. It stands on its own normally if she swears. If she swears, or her successors or her heirs swear that they haven't been paid. But if he says, "I'm going to let you collect it," no questions asked. No questions. I'm not going to make you swear. I'm going to make it real easy for you. He committed to that. Now, one of the things that she has to, what's the idea here? Swear that she didn't take any money on the side, right? That she hasn't been paid from on the side. A woman might be more heter. For example, as soon as he dies, she has to bury him. She has to pay for the tachrichim and the kever and the chaver kedisha and the whalers and all that's, all that goes involved in a funeral. So let's say she went after the burial, holchami kever bala. She went from the funeral, the base of to her father's house. In other words, she didn't even go home anymore. So nobody could say you took something from the house afterwards. That fights break out, believe me, over these things of who took what after death. The kids took this, who got it, all that kind of stuff, right? So she went straight to her father's house, or she went back to her father-in-law's house, meaning where they lived when they were married. But she wasn't made a guardian. She just stayed in her room and she didn't take anything. Then they can't make her swear. In other words, all this, his commitment is during his lifetime, right? While they're married, as soon as I die, you can collect the ksuba, your successors or your heirs, and you could do it without a shvua. However, let's say postmortem after death, let's say she went back to the house and she started running the business or running the household, then they could say, wait a minute, it's possible that, now you've taken something. Our father absolved you when it was his rishus, right? When he owned everything, he absolved you. You can collect your ksuba without having to swear. But now after death, who owns all that stuff? The yorshim, right? The yorshim. Now that it only applies till death. After death or after the burial doesn't apply anymore. Now it belongs to them. They made no such commitment. So she went home to her father's house. But she wasn't made to be the administrator over anything. And means they can't make her swear because they have to fulfill the father's commitment. But let's say she was made the guardian now, post Yorshim. Then they could say, listen, okay, what took place before when our father was alive, the father absolved you of having to make any shvuah to collect your ksuba. However, going forward, it belongs to us. Now you know how to run the household, you know how to run the business there, whatever. So we're employing you, so to speak. But going forward, we could make you swear because you're running our business for us. So then they can make us swear on the usad, meaning anything took place after death, meaning or after the funeral, after really the funeral, right? Allah Salava, but they can't make her swear what took place. Anything that took place during the father's lifetime, he absolved her of making a shvur there. So even the children, and he absolved her that his children, his successors also would not be able to make her swear. But that's only on everything that took place until death or until the funeral, because she did have to spend some money on the funeral, right? So there, it's not just till death; it's till the funeral itself. But after the funeral, if she's out of the picture, then there's nothing to talk about. But if she still went back home and is still continuing to run the business, to run the farm, whatever she was doing, running everything else, so at that point, the Yorshim own everything. So the Yorshim could make us swear. Listen, going forward from this day on, we could make you swear because now you're working for us. You're like a hired hand, then we should be made to make a shvur. All right. So what's the shvur talking about? When we say we're speaking about the shvur the Gemara is going to say, but she was made an apitrupas. She was made apitrupas, but not stam on anything else. Rashi says in Patum Miksiva, does mishvuas apitrupas in Yoshibet Achaves. Avalim Pagim Subas at Tamas Bagam Sasa, Lo Tifel Bishvur, Lo Nifter Miosishvur. In other words, what we're talking about over here is he said you're not going to have to make a shvur as the running the business, as a guardian and administrator of my business. You won't have to make a shvur about that. But other things she might have to make a shvur if in other circumstances, like the Mishnah is going to say tomorrow, that if she admits that $50 was paid out of the $200, that means she herself said that this document not really 100% true. The document says you owe me $200. Not true. You only owe me $150. So she herself has impaired the power of that ksuba. Then she would have to make a shvur about that. He only absolves her making shvuas relating to running the household, running the business, making sure that she didn't take anything. Of course, it's not good to make your wife make a shvur. That does not enhance the intimacy of their marriage. All right, so tomorrow's daf is daf Pei Zayin. Shabbos daf is on Pei Zayin. That whole daf will be on the podcast, and on Sunday, Mirz Hashem, we'll pick it up at the same time, 5:00 from Pei Ches. Pei Ches, the last three words on Pei Zayin basis, Amra Papa. That's where we'll start from on Sunday morning. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Kol Tov, Marchim Shabbat Shalom.